A big hello and a very warm welcome to a power-packed edition of Brand Equity with me, Sonali Krishna. The only advertising and marketing show that gives you a real peep behind the scenes. Let's get the show on the road, but first take a look at what's going to keep you engrossed and entertained for the next 30 minutes. On the show, the Indian cricket team may be on a losing wicket, but it seems like the other big loser will be IPL 5. With less than 2 months to go, official broadcaster Setmax is struggling to land sponsors for the 5th edition. A very interesting conversation on Hollywood, Bollywood and everything in between with Hollywood producer Ashok Amritraj. And last but not the least, Madhouse, China's leading mobile ad network, makes its grand entry into India. We tell you what they have up their sleeves for the Indian market. It was this time last year when we at Brand Equity told our loyal viewers that Setmax was set to make a loss. And lo and behold, now everybody seems to be voicing the same opinion. With Season 4's ratings taking a massive hit, advertisers and sponsors are no longer willing to pay a premium rate. So who's no longer on board? What are Setmax's demands? What's the nature of the current negotiation? And most importantly, what does Sony need to do to convert this loss-making proposition into a match-winning formula? Tara Kapoor brings you all those answers.
Well, you die, you know, you don't see as to which is a better way to die.
Defeat, despair, and disappointment. These are words that have been synonymous with Indian cricket in the last few months. Couple that with these facts: too much cricket, waning audience interest, and dipping TRPs. And it all leads to one simple word: disaster. And it's not only the Indian cricket fans who seem turned off. Advertisers too are beginning to look at the game with a lot more cautiousness.
If I was Setmax, I would be pissing in my pants, for God's sake. The numbers that have been shelved out and the way the cricket has progressed in the recent times. I mean, after winning World Cup, this is our state in 12 months. For the normal advertisers and sponsors, if you don't know whether it's going to be 90 games or 70, you don't know whether, you know, the ratings of this particular tournament are going to be as good as the last one. These are very relevant questions for the broadcaster, which is Setmax in this case, and the advertiser who's actually, you know, skewing his whole communication to sell a product through IPL as a platform.
With IPL, guys have to be a little more cautious because the hangover that you are seeing of the India's beating by England, India's been getting thrashed by Australia, that hangover is likely to continue, and it's likely to show up in lower ratings for IPL.
I think there would be this fatigue of viewership, and that's not going to go away. So I think at some point of time there has to be a rationalization as far as the premium that cricket viewership is being charged.
With less than 2 months to go, Setmax, the official broadcaster, is still struggling to land sponsors for the 5th edition. As of now, only 3 sponsors have signed up at the premium rate that the broadcaster is demanding. The big shocker, however, is LG, the consumer durables giant that has been synonymous with IPL since its inception, has decided to sit out of IPL this year.
Cricket at the World Cup.
Life's good when you enjoy together.
The question has been about marketing spending ROI. Especially so because Sony, Setmax, they have been increasing their rates again and again ever since the second year. So we really had to consider that how much more premium is it worth it to give to a cricket property. So I think last year was a watershed year where we said that this is about as much as we should be doing.
And LG is not alone in its stance. Pepsi and Vodafone, 2 brands that have been cricket loyalists, have decided to be fence-sitters and are playing the procrastinating game with Setmax. And the list doesn't end there. Even big auto players like Hero and Hyundai are still waiting it out And brands like Samsung and Havells are yet to confirm their involvement. Let's put Setmax's situation in perspective. Flashback to 2011 and the broadcaster had 10 sponsors already on board for IPL 4, plus had closed 80% of its inventory before the season began.
This year we are still playing the wait and watch game. In fact, we're waiting for how the things shape up, so to speak. We are still in the process of taking a decision. Surely they cannot charge the kind of premium that they had last year, or considering the kind of ratings that they got. Overall, the rates don't justify.
With IPL 4 garnering a record low TVR of 3.91, advertisers this time round are refusing to pay the premium that Setmax is demanding. Even after IPL 4's dismal performance, the broadcaster is still being rigid with its spot rates and has in fact raised its rates to 5 lakhs per 10 seconds this year from the 4.5 lakhs last year. And here's why.
We're not going to drop our prices. You need to understand we've got these rights for another 5 years. So we're not going to drop rates at this situation because the stakes for us are also very, very high in this. And that will never happen. So we'd rather go, 10% less sell out going into the tournament, because we're confident this year that the ratings are going to go up.
If Max had actually wanted to reduce prices, I think they would have sealed up all the sponsors by now. I think Max is also holding on to the cost, which makes sense from their point of view, because if they do reduce prices this year, it becomes a benchmark for next year. That from any broadcaster's perspective is not a healthy place to be in.
While the broadcaster is hopeful that the ratings of IPL 5 will pick up from the previous season, media planners don't share the same optimism. But if the broadcaster does keep its rates flat and manages to garner similar revenues of approximately 800 to 850 crores, year 6 onwards, they will at most be able to sustain a 5% growth in revenues year on year. And a 5% growth is just not good enough for Sony, considering the huge acquisition cost of the IPL property. One of the key reasons the broadcaster is refusing to budge on rates.
Yeah, it is a worry. We're quite flexible on our spot buys, where we're willing to look at smaller packages. So right now, last year we had 2 packages, which was either you buy all the games or you buy alternative games. But this year we're also looking at, because the tournament is fairly long, 76 games, so you could buy 25 games. So I think that's why we're looking at and we are in negotiation with a lot of smaller brands to take just smaller packages.
I think in this current environment, Setmax, BCCI, IPL as a brand, they need to increase the glamour quotient. What worked was Shah Rukh Khan and cheerleaders and the drama around it. Come on, that's the truth. I mean, housewives started watching it for what? For the entertainment part. I think that was lacking last year for sure. I think that flamboyancy of Lalit Modi got missing. They need to bring in that little, so-called Hindi tadka in the dal, because it's required now, I think.
If the tournament doesn't do well, there is a two negatives going for the channel, which is on one hand, people who have contracted at high rates would say that we want a compensation, and on the other hand, the inventory which they have would have to be sold at a much lower rate.
Add to that, with cricket currently in its worst form, advertisers are in the driving seat and are using this as an opportune moment to push for a cost per rating point or CPRP system instead of the cost per 10-second system that they currently follow. IPL 5 will be the watershed year for Setmax because the price they command this year will set the benchmark for next year's edition.
Sony is clearly in a tight spot, but really the larger question is, will acquisition costs of cricket properties take a hit in the foreseeable future? While you digest that, we'll take a quick break, but stay right here, as up next, it's a very engrossing chat with Hollywood producer Ashok Amritraj on Show Business.
Anything above $30 million as the opening weekend in the US.